one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. It's your favorite time of the week. It's Keepin It Rio time. And today, episode 237 is going to be a very fun episode. I can already feel the energy. Just met my guest about a minute and a half ago, and we've already got a lot of good vibes going on over here. And I was just telling her, I've had many guests from all over the world. I've had just about every kind of story that you could imagine, but this is the first time I've ever had a celebrity makeup artist on Keepin It Rio. So no hesitation, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Christina Flach to the program. Christina, welcome to the program. How's it going?
Well, thanks so much for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm getting ready to have a great conversation with someone I just met, and 45 minutes from now, I'm going to know something that I don't know right now. So life doesn't get any better than that, right?
Let's do it.
All right. So Christina, the age-old question, the one that every interviewer loves to start with is, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then we'll just run with it, and we'll have ourselves a good old time.
Okay. Well, my name is Christina Flach. I'm a celebrity makeup artist. I am a mother of 5. I am a CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup, of I'm Too Busy Skincare Makeup and ITB Wellness. I have a podcast called I'm Too Busy. I'm a beauty expert on NBC on California Live. I'm a philanthropist. And yeah, I think that is all my titles.
A lot, and it's very impressive, and I'm very excited to learn about each and every one of them. So let's start with the professional aspect of your life. Celebrity makeup artist. Like I said, you're the very first that I've ever had on Keepin It Rio. So I would like to learn how one would go about becoming a celebrity makeup artist. Tell me a little bit about your story.
You start out by being a makeup artist, and then if you're lucky and work really hard, then you get some celebrities, and that's kind of how it happens. It doesn't. They don't just hand them out to you. Unfortunately, you have to kind of earn them. And then you get one. The first one is the hardest to get. And then once you get one, then you get more. I'm very blessed because I have 3 agents that represent me all across the country. And so that's very, that helps a ton. And then my clients are amazing. And it's like the gift with purchase job. I get paid really well to make people look and feel good and spend time with them. So it's really, I love it very much. But then I also like my other career of my podcast and being a CEO of my companies.
Definitely. We're going to talk about the podcast for sure. And we'll talk about the CEO role. But as far as the makeup artist goes, okay, this is a super competitive opportunity to find yourself in. Tell me a little bit about your experience. When did you realize that this was something you'd love to pursue? Obviously, you have to have some serious repetitions in order to get to the level to where you're working with Hollywood celebrities. So at what point in your journey called life did you realize that this was a talent that you had and something that you maybe could, parlay into something down the road?
I started working on my friends and family, my cousins, my mother. My mother had been diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, went through chemo, radiation, and she was going on a date with my dad. And I said, oh, let me do your makeup. I had very few makeup skills and she had very little makeup, but we managed to make her look and feel like the best version of her at that time. And that's one of the things that I love so much about transforming people. I want them to feel like themselves, but the best version of themselves. So that's what's like the most gratifying to me, having this job. And obviously I get to travel really cool places and, have a lot of time with different peoples from all different walks of life, different CEOs, entrepreneurs, athletes, musicians, chefs. So yeah, it's really, I love it. And it's a good balance between, running my business, my companies, but also still being able to be creative because I am an artist at heart. And I thought I wanted to just be a CEO, but it bored me to tears. So it's a really good balance for me to have both.
I like that. And that's awesome that you still can go out and do something that you absolutely love and kind of maybe a stress reliever, or maybe it's a stress addition. I don't know. I can only imagine being tasked with making someone look their best and feel their best. But kudos to you because you do it and you make people feel great. I love the origins. So as you start to realize this is something that you really love to do and you get that first feeling, hey, you know what? This is something that I'm going to pursue. You don't just automatically get the celebrities. Like you said, it's pretty hard to get that opportunity, but you've got to start working your way up and you've got to start finding clients. Tell me a little bit about your first client that was actually a paying client to you when you decided you were going to make this, your career opportunity. The first person that ever came in that you were able to transform.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. It's been so long, but okay, I'll tell you. My first celebrity was Amber Kelleher. She and her mom are those blonde, beautiful matchmakers that you see on airplanes in the magazines. Have you seen that before?
Probably, yes. I'm sure I'd recognize them. I've been in many airplanes, so
yes. So she was my first celebrity. She's one of the top matchmakers in the world. She was on a show about matchmaking, and so she was my first celebrity. And then I got Tyler Florence, who's a celebrity chef, and I've had him for almost 17 years. And so he's on the Food Network and all kinds of different things. So I work with him, and I think things really changed when I got my agents because I worked with, Hilary Swank, Rita Moreno, Condoleezza Rice, all these different people, different networks. And so it's always interesting and fun to work with different people because I didn't even realize that I kind of had a podcast without talking to people because I would have people in my makeup chair all day long and we would chat. And then sometimes, I have to figure out in 3 seconds, does this person want to talk or do they want quiet? So I kind of have to read the room very quickly. There are some clients that just want quiet. They need to study their script or what they're going to do. And so I have to be very respectful of their energy and their space. And so, there's some clients that just want quiet and I do that.
I like that. And I think it's very, it's super important to be able to read the room. Like you said, you don't want to bother someone that doesn't want to be bothered, but also some people are very talkative, myself included, and love telling stories while, I used to get my hair cut before I became bald, but, you'd sit there and you could, carry on a good conversation, talk about whatever, and enjoy that 15 to 20 minutes of your time. Before we move on to the next topic, I've got this kind of set up in 3 sections, but I love to ask this: out of all the celebrities that you worked with, which person, and maybe you don't want to get so specific because maybe you still work with some, but which one was the one that surprised you the most with their personality, whether it was someone that you expected to be maybe, I don't want to talk, and they just couldn't stop talking, or someone that you thought would maybe be a little bit more animated while you were doing the job that just kind of sat there like a statue?
Actually, it's the senator from your state, Ted Cruz.
Okay. Well, there you go.
He was the one I didn't really want to work with. I had a bad impression of him. And my agent was like, get over yourself. You're getting paid a ton. So he actually this was when he was running for president. He was so lovely, like really down to earth, really nice. And he surprised me because I wasn't expecting to like him very much at all.
That's awesome. I would never have expected Ted Cruz either. So that's pretty cool. And yes. I love that you probably got so many stories about people that you're the only person that knows. And
that's true. Or I would never work in Hollywood again.
Right? That's awesome, right? Or you could pick and choose at this point because you might know the dirt on everybody. But I think that's awesome. And what a cool way to get to meet so many people. Like you said, it's almost like you had a podcast from the very beginning.
I did. Exactly.
And before we even knew what podcasts were, I was the same thing. I was like, I just like talking to people and we have a good conversation at lunch or whatever. And then we go our separate ways, or we go on a car ride, and all kinds of world's problems are solved. And here you are getting to chat with all these people and learn about their true characters and understand who they are as humans. We see what we see on the big screens and whatnot. And I think sometimes you just wonder, what are those people really like? Now, the next time I see Ted Cruz, I'm going to think, he's a pretty good guy from what I've been told. So I love that. And I think it's really unique. And I think for me personally, with my chosen profession, which is a roofing company, that's the thing I love the most, is I get to go meet random people and I get to sit down with them and hear their stories, and they tell me all kinds of crazy things, and you become their friend throughout the process. And then when everything else is all said and done, they call you back 6 months later just to say hi or whatnot. And I think being able to do that with celebrities would be kind of fun. So
It is.
I
And
am
it's
a
fun
little
when you
bit
get,
envious. I think if I
yeah,
was doing their makeup, it would look terrible, but I'd still give it a shot, you know?
it's surprising. Now that they're just all, they work really hard, but it's also interesting because I get to hear a lot of things and I learn a lot. I hear a lot, I work for Fox a lot, Marita Bartiromo, Dana Perino, Tucker Carlson. I've worked with all these people, Sean Hannity, and I learn a lot from all of them. And so I think it makes me be a better CEO, because I get to hear different things about business that I wouldn't typically hear. So that's another kind of gift with purchase.
No kidding. It's an amazing education that you can get every single day from high level people, no matter what the profession or the background. It's like you learn from the experts in your field and or their field. You can't help but translate over into your real life. And I think that's probably the coolest job that I've ever heard of. So congratulations on that. I love the fact that you decided at some point, okay, I love being an artist. I love doing this, but I have this itch. I want to be a CEO. I want to be stressed out all the time. I want to have all this pressure on me, and I want to build something that's going to be awesome and unique. Tell me a little bit about this situation as it played out in your mind. At what point in your career did you decide, you know what, I've got bigger things that I want to do as well, and take that additional next leap?
It wasn't as interesting as you're making it sound. I didn't know I didn't even know what a CEO was when I started, but I was a mother of 5, and I knew that I was in a constant battle with my water bottle and my lip gloss. I couldn't get one that would last. And I thought, well, how hard can it be to invent one? And ignorance is bliss. You don't know what you don't know. And so it took significantly longer to formulate. I worked with a beauty chemist to formulate the texture, the color, to get the packaging. It took almost over a year. And I didn't expect it to take so long or cost so much. But I didn't realize that what running a business was. I didn't go to business school. I had no idea what I was doing. And you don't get a handbook. You just kind of start dealing with situations. And so that's how that started. And then with I'm Too Busy, I've been hearing for years and years how women go into department stores or Sephora or Ulta, and they are sold a bunch of products. I'm sure your wife has tons. They get a gift with purchase. They buy all these things that they don't need, they don't know how to use, and they're not appropriate for their lifestyle. And so what I wanted to do was come up with a makeup line with what exactly you need. Brows, for your eyes, cheek, and lip. And that was it. And then the skincare, I also hear from people that they've got all these great products, but they're multiple steps, they're 10 steps, and they do it, 1 or 2 times, and then they don't do it. And so I worked with another beauty chemist to come up with a 3-step regime that's for men and women. My chemist asked me on the first day, he said, so what do you do first thing in the morning? And I said, well, I splash my face with water. And he said, wrong. He goes, well, do you drink the water? Do you drink the water that you splash your face with? And I said, fuck no. And he's like, okay then. So why are you putting it on your face? So anyway, from there, we decided to do a reverse cleansing, which is and it's also concentrated. So I don't want my customers to be paying for water to be shipped. And so it's concentrated. You put 3 pumps of moisturizer and 3 pumps of cleanser into your hand, put it on your face, and then then put the water on. And then the 3rd step is protection. So that's going to be released in Q1 of 26. So I'm excited about that. And in the meantime, I'm doing my interviews with all these different people. I'm all about, and then, let's back up a bit. I decided to start ITB Wellness because I'm obsessed with gut health, because it actually affects, I speak about beauty from the inside out all the time with my clients on TV. I write magazine articles. It's another thing I do, I forgot to mention. And I get told all the time that people are like, oh, I've got all these stomach issues. It's, my skin's a mess. And so we came up with a formulation for a supplement in the morning, one in the night, to keep your gut health happy, because gut health affects your skin, your hair, your brain. And so it also how you feel. So it's really interesting. So I do a lot of interviews with people about gut health, wellness. And then I do on California Live on NBC, we talk about beauty and wellness. We're doing an episode this month on Halloween, how you can do your makeup and get decorated for Halloween. So I do that a couple times a month. Do Valentine's Day, we do Pride, we do all kinds of things about hydration. What makeup do you need? What don't you really need? When do you get rid of things? So all kinds of different things related to how people look and feel.
I love it. That's awesome. You got me all fired up now, because it's like you're really helping people that need help and don't understand any of this stuff. And I'm a complete idiot when it comes to makeup. I'll tell you that much. And I just
I would expect you to know that.
Right. But that's why I love this podcast. I'm going to learn something now about makeup. So the thing I want to ask about, I've had so many different entrepreneurs, so many people that have basically started from scratch and built something from nothing and made it into a monumental enterprise. And every single person has a story where at some point self-doubt starts to creep in. They start to wonder about their sanity. They start to wonder, is this worth all the effort and the time? Have you had any moments like that throughout your entrepreneurial journey? Like you said, there is no instruction manual. Nobody really ever tells you what to do or how to do it. You kind of get kicked in the face, multiple times along the way before you start to understand things. And human nature is to get discouraged. So did that happen to you at any point in your journey?
Every day.
Yep.
Every day. You have to really love what you're doing, because it's going to take more time, take more money, take more effort. If you are doing whatever it is, whatever business you're doing, just to make money, you're going to fail. I love what I do. I find it fascinating, all the different aspects of it. I find it fascinating that I get to work with a beauty chemist to, hear the science between these products, behind these products. I love helping people to look like the best versions of themselves. I am a super shy person. What do I call myself? Introverted extrovert. And it was really uncomfortable for me to be in front of a camera. But my TV husband, who I go on with, Berlin Fisher, he said to me, look, this is everything you know. You don't even have to think. Just get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so, that feeling that you get when you're going to do something new, it's like, ooh, I'm terrified. Now I know that is excitement. It's not a scary thing. It's going to be something really cool, because I have become so much more confident. And how do I explain it? It's taught me so much. I get to interview people. I get to be on TV and teach people things. And make people feel good. So it's a lot of fun. And now I know that feeling of dread that I used to feel as dread is actually excitement. So I've turned my attitude around about being in front of the camera and being more comfortable and confident speaking in front of people, because I was a makeup artist for a reason. If I wanted to be in front of the camera, I would have been an actress. I wouldn't have decided to be a makeup artist. But now I do both. So I like both. So it's fun.
Yeah, right. I'm the same way. For most of my life, I was extremely timid, and I would speak in, groups of 2 or 3 people, and I'd be one of the clown guys that's just having a good time and cutting up and joking around. But I'll never forget the first time I had to speak in front of a group, and it was maybe like 10 or 12 people. And I kid you not, Christina, I was so scared as they were going around. Every person had to stand up and do like a 30-second intro about themselves. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Oh, and I'm watching it get closer and closer, and I could feel myself shaking. I'm sweating. And then I stood up and I did it. And guess what? When I was done with that 30 seconds, it was like, game on. That was actually not so bad. And then you take it to completely different levels to where you're not afraid to do that. With my industry, one of the key things is organic social media content. And video always performs better than still photos or just random text. So I take a lot of video content at our job sites, and over the course of time, I've recognized that this is actually pretty fun. And now I don't have any anticipation or fear or anxiety of it. But I remember that feeling so strongly, where it was like, oh my gosh, the first episode of this podcast we did was, man, I didn't know if there was going to be a second episode. I almost didn't know if there was going to be a first. So I totally understand being an introverted extrovert, and I consider myself the same. So here's to us. We made it, right?
Exactly. And I think it's also, I think like you're basically doing sales, right? You have to learn. People are going to hire you. A lot of it has to do with your personality, whether they like you and they make you make them feel comfortable and confident. It's the same exact thing I do. It's just a different industry, but it's the exact same thing. If I didn't make people feel comfortable and confident, I wouldn't get hired back. If I didn't have a good attitude, show up on time, do my job, know when to be quiet, know when to speak, I wouldn't get hired. So we basically have the same kind of a job. It's just a different industry, but it's all the same stuff.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, there's always parallels no matter what you do. Everything breaks down to the most basic concepts. And here we are. We just figured out the complete similarities between a roofer and a celebrity makeup artist. So there you go. Anything can happen and everything can be compatible. You just have to have a good mindset about it. So I absolutely love that. Before we transition into your podcast and what you've got coming up later on down the road, tell me a little bit about your future plans with the business. A lot of people that I've had on the show have said, I'm going to do this forever. I'm going to do this until it's not fun. I'm going to do this for 3 more years and then I'm going to sell the thing and I've got a defined plan. What's your game plan look like for the future as it pertains to everything that you've got going on right now?
Well, I've got my new, I've got ITV Wellness coming out in 2026 and the skincare and the makeup. So I've got that. I've got my podcast. I'm going to keep doing that. I enjoy it. I'm actually doing another podcast called Disrupt Her with a lovely woman in London. And nice. Where she interviewed me on her show and then I interviewed her on my show. And then we thought, we should have a show together because we're super similar, but we're different. And so we're doing a show about what women really talk about when they're alone. Uh-oh. And give really good, solid advice to, different women. So we just started. So our first show is next week. We did a practice show last week and the Zoom did not work. So the Zoom, I don't know what happened, took down all the words, no video.
There you go. So, congratulations, Zoom. You've done it once again.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I use StreamYard for mine. I had the same experience. I did a masterful one. And I turned it on.
It's always the best one. And it's gone. And it's like, okay, now what? I wanted to cry. And I felt even worse because it's my, my partner that we're doing it with. It was just she and I on the show. And I felt terrible. And she was like, oh my God, get over your damn self.
I can appreciate it, but I definitely know how you feel because I've been there. There's been times where I've done my podcast and I forgot to turn this microphone on and it would be over in the microphone on my computer and it would sound like I'm in a tin can and I would be having a conversation with elite level people. Right. And then I go back and listen to it and it's like, oh, I heard it in my earphones, but I didn't know how to do that.
So, you only make that mistake once, honestly, because it's so frustrating.
Maybe you only make that mistake. Well, I've done it several times.
Oh my God.
I'm one of those. Awful. So let's chat a little bit about the podcast. This is something that I absolutely love to talk about. I've been doing mine now. I think this, 237 or 238 is the episode today. Almost 4.5 years strong every single week. And it's evolved many times over the course of this 4.5 years. From when we first started, it was a live show with a panel. We had 3 co-hosts and we would have guests on from our roofing industry to talk about various things. And it kind of transitioned into an interview show like what it is now about 150 episodes ago. Wow. And it's just continued to grow and develop. And I've been so blessed to talk to some absolutely amazing people that I would never be able to speak with otherwise, such as today. And everyone always asks me, what about the origins of your podcast? How did it get started? That's the obvious question that I have for you. How did you get started with the podcasting? Obviously, I think your job probably at some point it triggered in your head like we talked about. But at what point did you decide, okay, I am going to sit down. I'm going to get a microphone. I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to get the software, and I'm going to invest my time, my money, and my energy into doing this. What was that like for you? Because everybody seems to have a different story about it.
Well, my story is a little different. I never had any plan to do this, but I was contacted by a company in New York that was looking for someone in my demographic, like with beauty and wellness, kind of my age. And they called me and said, you keep coming up in our algorithm. We would like you to do a show. And I'm like, oh, no. But actually I said, I remember what Berlin said, get comfortable being uncomfortable. This is easy. I talk to people all the time. And so I thought, okay. And so that's how it started. And then the new show, I just said with Gita that we just thought, we'd love to do chat together. We thought we had funny chemistry. And so we're going to give it a go.
I love that. And you're going to have so much fun along the way. And like we just said, mistakes are going to happen. You're going to go back after the fact and say, oh, we forgot to hit the record button, or we forgot to do this or that. And it's just a part of the process.
Stuff happens.
Yeah. The most important thing is to enjoy it. Don't ever get stressed out by it. I do a weekly episode, but I'm in the midst right now of recording about 12 of them. So basically they'll go out for the next 3 months every Thursday at 7 p.m. And I never really have a lot of stress behind it. I can take a couple weeks off and come back and do it. And I think the most important thing is not worrying about anything and just doing it for the purpose that it was designed for, which is to have a great conversation. Right now, you and I are chatting. We don't even know that there's millions and millions of people watching live on Thursdays, everybody Keepin It Rio. And, we're just having fun. And I think once people get as a guest that are kind of maybe intimidated or feeling like, oh, I'm not going to have a good story to tell. Once you get on the camera and you start chatting, it just becomes an organic conversation. So I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I actually spent quite a bit of time studying my guests. I do a script with an intro, an outro. I do, questions, rapid fire questions. I try and ask questions of, that they haven't been asked. So I've had some really incredible guests. I've had Lee Steinberg, Steve Garvey, Jim Peterson, he's a basketball player, commentator. I've had Noah Eagle. I've had a bunch of incredible entrepreneurs on. And so I really want them to feel that I'm giving them, if they're being generous enough with me to give them their time, I should at least be prepared enough to ask them some questions, because I'm really incredibly grateful. Steve Garvey and Lee Steinberg. I have clients like Noah Eagle, Bill McDonald. He's a commentator for the Lakers. They were both on together, and they both said, "How the hell did you get that guy to interview?" And I said, "I sent him an email, and he said yes." So, we were joking about that. Like I tell my clients, I'm like, "Hey, you want to keep looking good? Just do an interview." So I'm hopefully going to be interviewing Tyler Florence very soon, Sammy Hagar. And some other of my clients. So hopefully these will all, I have to work within their schedules. I'm not going to I'm like, look, give me 15 minutes. That's all I need. And I'll be incredibly grateful for that. So we shall see.
And it's the most unique way to market your business and your brand. I do these with my roofing company all the time. Like you'll be shocked, but I'm going to put out at least one reel from our conversation today on my roofing company page. And it's amazing how people respond to them. And I get a lot of things that are relative to what I do as well. And I can send a little clip over from an insurance person, kind of giving insights on different things or whatnot. But you're going to have an entire unique catalog of, your time with these people. And that's going to be such a differentiator for you. When you stand out in a crowd, it's like, well, look at this. She's had this, and this. And that's the beauty of doing the podcast. And like you said, all you have to do is reach out and ask. I've never had a single person tell me no. I've had some that got cold feet at the end and decided not to do it or whatever, or rescheduled, or I'm still waiting to reschedule several from like years ago. But the reality is, I've had some people on here that I would have never in my wildest dreams imagined getting to do a podcast with. And it's another matter of just putting yourself out there, the introverted extrovert or the extroverted introvert that decides, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to reach out to all these people. I'm going to have these superstars on my show. And then I'm going to get to tell everybody why they chose to be on my show, and we're going to learn about them. And I think that's just the coolest thing in the world. And I love podcasts, and congratulations. I don't know if I'll be able to, your podcast where you're going to tell women about what you guys talk about in private. I don't know if that's something I want to tune in or not, because I might find out, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I thought they were saying. But I think it's great. And I would love for people that watch this episode today. I always joke and say it's going to be millions of people. And one day I'm going to take over the #1 spot. Joe Rogan is my current target. And, we're going to get there one show at a time until we do. I finally got a little bit of syndication, and I got on a TV channel on Roku recently. So that's kind of cool.
Congratulations.
Right? I never in my wildest dreams had that under my mind when this started 4.5 years ago. I literally didn't know that it would continue on beyond a few episodes after we did it, but it's been an absolute blessing, and I love it. So congratulations to you for being one of the people brave enough to put the camera on and say, hey, guess what? I'm here, and I want to learn about what you guys have to talk about, and I want to teach people, and I just want to touch as many people as possible. So that's pretty cool. Anybody that's watching this show right now, I have a very diverse crowd that wants to tune in to any of your podcasts, any of your programs. What are the best ways for them to be able to do it?
They can go to YouTube, and it's I'm Too Busy TV. You can also go to imtoobusytv.com, and all the episodes are up there. We're on every platform, Apple, Spotify, and 14 different platforms, I think. And so Instagram. So that's where we are.
I love it. The different platforms, you start naming them, and then you're like, I don't even know what some of these things are.
I don't even. I mean, I know my basic few, like the YouTube, the Spotify, and Apple, and all the other ones. I don't really know. But
yeah, you'd be shocked at some of the places where the podcasts end up, and it's like, wow,
right.
6 people from Cambodia listened this week on, whatever this app is with the guy holding his arm up.
It's true.
I think it's awesome. You never know how many people you're going to reach or how many people you're going to be able to impact. But the one thing I do know is you're going to be able to impact people because you've opted to put yourself out there. So that's pretty amazing. Let's kind of start wrapping up. I know you've got a busy night. You told me the family's, on the way, and you're going to have a madhouse here in about 10, 15 minutes. So we'll start to kind of wind it down a little bit. I do want to also ask you if anybody's watching that would be interested in any of your products, any of your stuff that you've got coming out. What are the best ways for people to be able to make that happen for them as well?
prettygirlmakeup.com. And in the next year, in January, we should have I'm Too Busy skincare, makeup, and ITB wellness ready to go. And you can also look at all my makeup artistry. My portfolio is ChristinaFlach.com.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot miss her. So there's no excuse. I love the story of entrepreneurial journeys. I love to hear about unique backgrounds that I've never even, had any exposure to in my life. Christina, I'd love to thank you for taking the time to be on Keepin It Rio this evening.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
So much. Thank you.
And one last thing before we bid adieu to our fans, the millions and millions, is I definitely want to give a shout out to my sponsor. And I think this will be kind of fun because I'm sure you're probably clamoring to learn a little bit about roofer.com. Let me tell you a little bit about roofer.com, Christina. This is a program that 8 years ago was designed as a measurement tool for roofers, where you would type in an address, you'd get an aerial satellite image, and you could literally draw it up by connecting points, and it would measure a roof out for you. This was awesome, and I loved it. Since day one, I've been a huge fan of it. But a couple years later, they got into this even bigger, to where they've now decided to get into the CRM business. There's a full service CRM with Roofer that literally takes you from your initial contact with your client through the entire process, proposals, material orders, work orders, invoicing, payments, you name it. It's all included in roofer.com. And they've been my sponsor for 3.5 years. So shout out to the guys at Roofer. I love you guys, and I appreciate it very much. Before we wrap up this episode, I always ask if there would be any final words of wisdom that you'd love to share with the Keepin It Rio audience this evening.
I hope everyone just loves big, laughs big, and enjoys their life and whatever it is they're doing.
There you go. You can't help but have fun when you're having fun. And I think that's the most fundamental rule in life. So we're going to continue to enjoy what we do. every single week. We bring it out to the people, and I appreciate everybody for watching Keepin' It Rio. Until next week, the corniest tagline in history, Christina, is keep on keeping it Rio. And we'll see you guys next Thursday. If you would, hang around just a second after I play this ad, and you and I will wrap up our conversation on the backside. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payment in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free.